This is a twin engine Astar known as the Twinstar, and today you're going to get a quick look around and an engine start. Hi, I'm Rick James from the Pilot Teacher, and this is the Twinstar, and today we're going to have a look around it, why it's different from the normal Astar, and we get to go and film the start, and you get to see how it starts before taking off. Hope you enjoy. So here we have the main instrument console for the Twinstar. So starting down here at the bottom, we've got a radio and another radio which the pilot can use to talk to air traffic control or other pilots. This here is the communications selection panel, so you can switch between different radios, so this radio or the FM radio here, which is used to speak to crews on the ground, that kind of thing. So that can be selected using this knob here. Basically, whenever he presses the button to transmit, whichever radio this knob is selected to, it will either go out on this one, or the FM radio here. Here we have the company satellite tracking unit, so we can just put in a number there, and it also doubles up as a satellite phone, which is a great feature too. Coming up, we've got a radar altimeter, so basically this tells the pilot how high the aircraft is above the surface. So if you're 500 feet above the surface, this needle will be pointing at the 5 mark there. Okay, coming across, up here we've got our caution and warning panel. So when this is on, you can get red and yellow words popping up here that tells the pilot if there's an issue. So if you lost a fuel pump or something like that, you would get a yellow fuel P. If you had an engine fire, you would get, say, ENG1 for engine 1 fire, and that would be bright red. So this is kind of like your caution and warning panel. So coming down, we've got our two fuel gauges for the two fuel tank sides. Then coming down here, we've got the fuel pressure for each engine. So you've got the left engine, the right engine. Down here we have our engine oil pressure. So left engine, right engine, and down here the oil temperature for both the left and right engine. Coming down, this is our emergency switch for our emergency locator transmitter. If we have an emergency, we can just reach over and switch that to on, and it sends a signal to search and rescue to let them know we've got a problem. Okay, coming across is our vertical speed indicator. What this does is it tells the pilot how fast the aircraft is climbing or descending. So the faster you descend, the further round this needle is going to go, and it basically reads in hundreds of feet per minute. And then coming up here, we've got our 3 engine gauges, and these are twin needle gauges. So basically each engine has its own needle. So this one here is the engine temperature, so each needle will have one needle will have a number 1 on it, and one will have a number 2. So the left hand side is the number 1 engine, the right hand side is the number 2 engine. So these should usually are always pretty matched once they are in flight. So this is how hot the engine's running. This one here is the torque, which is how much basically torque the engines are producing. Again, 2 needles on there. And this one is the NG, or the gas generator, and this basically tells us how fast the engine is rotating, or the engines are rotating, because again it's another 2 needle gauge. Coming up here we have a 3-needle gauge, and basically what this is it tells the long needle tells me how fast the main rotor is turning, and then we have 2 needles that tell me the speed of the engines. Again, it's kind of like an RPM gauge for the engines. This one here goes up and down as you change power. These 2 needles should basically kind of stay matched with the main rotor RPM. So then coming down, we've got our altimeter. Basically tells us how high we are above the ground or above sea level, depending on which pressure setting you have in the window here. Then we have our GPS, directional gyro. That basically it doesn't have any problems with leading or lagging that magnetic compasses have. And then this is our airspeed indicator. So faster the more the needle comes up, the faster we're going. So this is part of the upper console between basically the 2 seats. On this side you have the pilot seat, and on this side you have the passenger seat. And basically what you have here is the engine start switch for the left-hand engine, the engine start switch for the right-hand engine, and then you can just see the 2 fuel shut-off valves here. This red handle in the middle is for the rotor brake. So when the engines are shut down and the pilot wants to slow the rotor so that the passengers can get out, you just pull on this way, and it will apply like a disc brake to the main rotor system to slow it down. The other things we've got here is the voltmeter and ammeter coming off the generators off the engine there, just so you can keep a check on the voltage is good and the current is good. And then we start to have the various switches for the things on the aircraft. So you've got your main battery switch here, you've got things for your generator on the right hand side, you've got your horizontal indicator, your directional gyro, your position lights, anti-collision lights, and then here on the left hand side you've got the generator. And so yeah, there's just some of the switches that are up out the way, and it's basically, if you were sitting in your pilot seat, they would be above your left shoulder. So what we have here is basically the 2 engine shut-off levers here. This Twinstar has a twin FADEC, which basically means the engines are started and controlled by a digital controller, which is started using the switches here. So basically these are to shut the engine down during flight if there is a problem like a fire or something like that. So by pulling this lever back, it's going to shut the engine down. So up here we have 2 lights for if the aircraft was flying at night, and then the rest here are just screw-in fuses. Same here, some more switches, and that's pretty much the top of the center console. The 2 red levers here are basically the fuel shut-off levers. So if you have to shut the engine down by pulling the throttle back, you can then make it safe and take the fuel away from the engine by shutting this, which shuts a valve, keeping the fuel away from the engine if there was a fire or something like that. Okay, so what we've got here is the right hand side of the Astar. This here is towards the front of the helicopter, and this is to the rear. And what you can see right here, just by the pilot's hand, is the drive shaft coming in from the right hand side engine, and it feeds into this gearbox here, and there is another one on the other side, and this basically feeds into the main transmission, which you can see here. The main transmission basically takes the input from these 2 engines, turns it 90 degrees and reduces it up to around about 394 RPM for the main rotor during flight. On this side here you can see the one of 3 push-pull tubes that controls the swash plate from the cyclic and the collective. There's 2 on the other side, and this is the one on this side. Here we have the engine oil reservoir for the right hand engine, which is in this section here, and then here we have the isolation valve for the hydraulics for the flight control. So there's pretty much quite empty on this side, and it's pretty much the same on the other side, but that is the right hand side cowl for the main engine transmission. Okay, so this is the left hand side of the main transmission. So this is the front of the aircraft, this is to the rear, and again on this side you can see here the main drive shaft coming in from the left hand engine, goes into the gearbox here, which then feeds down, meets up with the other engine from the right hand side and feeds into the main transmission here. This side it's almost the same, just a couple of things that are a little bit different. We have the engine oil reservoir for the left hand engine. This here is the filler cap for the oil for the main gearbox. We have the push-pull tube here and here, which are the other two, because remember there's, I said in the other side that there's 3 push-pull tubes that come from the cyclic and the collective. These are linking up here to the hydraulic servos, which basically push off the main transmission here to move the swash plate, which you can see up here. These are just the hydraulic lines that come off to feed the hydraulic servos, and then yeah, the rest of it is pretty much just all open space, so it's nice and compact. The only other thing that you can see here is the reservoir for the hydraulic fluid for the hydraulic system, but apart from that, this side and the right hand side are pretty much identical. That's what I like about the A-Stars, there's loads of room on there. So yeah, this is the left hand side main gearbox area. So here we have the engine on the left hand side of the aircraft. This is the back of the aircraft and this is the front of the aircraft, and the engines are identical. I took a picture of the number 1 engine on the right hand side of the aircraft, but I've come back to edit it and it's blurry, and of course the aircraft is left, so I can't get a picture of it. But basically for our sakes they are identical. Like if you open up the cowl on the other side, it looks exactly the same as this. So what we've got here is the engine air intake. So when the cowl closes down, you can see this thing sticking out the side of it. That's why we've got this kind of rubber seal around it, so it can suck the air in from outside of the compartment rather than from trying to suck it from inside the compartment. So the air comes in and it basically mixes with the combustion chamber just kind of at the back of here. Once it's mixed with the air and ignited, it basically fires out the back here, comes through the power turbine section, which drives the main drive shaft, which comes through the engine and out the front and into the main gearbox. Yeah, it's pretty much a really nice, simple engine. There's not a lot to them. We've got them separated here by a titanium firewall and a titanium firewall here separating the engines from the main gearbox area, and this firewall separates this engine from the right hand side engine, so that if there is a fire it's kind of contained in this engine bay here, which is quite nice. So then the pilot can just shut the engine down, shut off the fuel to the engine, and basically then it should burn itself out and not cause the pilot any more problems. So that is the engine on the Twinstar. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that bell notification. You'll know exactly when new videos come out, and I will see you on the next one.